speed and physical hits will take some time. But there's one thing we know about John Harbaugh sitting starters during the preseason. They come ready. This season will go as Lamar Jackson goes. The last 2 seasons with his injuries are proof of that.
You want your quarterback to be on point and ready to go. Lamar is our quarterback, and I expect him to be on point and ready to go. He has been in the past, to your point, and I'm sure he expects that of himself. And yeah, I think everybody's got to go out there and just put their best foot forward, play the best they can, not have a lot of anxiety, just put it out there and let it rip.
Jackson is 3-1 in openers as a starter with 12 touchdowns to just 1 interception.
All right, we remain under weather alert at least through the rest of today and likely into tomorrow for the heat. 96 through 6 p.m., 87 at 10 p.m., 78 at 2 a.m. So especially if you're going to be headed out and about, doing some outdoor workouts, etc., you really have to take it nice and slow. And that's going to go for tomorrow as well. For our Wednesday, high temperature in the mid and upper 90s. Once again, Thursday still in the sticky 90s, but I think things gradually, as you see here, beginning to get better. I'm going to let you know when we finally fall out of the 90s. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast in just minutes.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, a Baltimore mother speaks out saying her daughter continues to commit crimes despite being on home monitoring. The story you're seeing first on Fox. Breaking news out of Baltimore County. The county fire department has entered into a consent decree with the Department of Justice. We'll have details on why.
Oh. Extreme heat leaving Maryland under a weather alert. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers is on standby with a look at the forecast. A story you're seeing first on Fox, a mother losing the fight to keep her daughter out of trouble, why she says the state is not doing enough to stop the juvenile crime crisis. And breaking news, an arrest made in an officer-involved shooting from earlier today. The latest details coming into our newsroom.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Maxine Stryker. Thanks for staying with us. Tonight we are in weather alert as the Baltimore area faces a severe heat wave. This is a look at the conditions across the area, including Ocean City and Towson. This week we've already seen multiple record highs for this time of year with dangerous temperatures in the high 90s. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers is in now with the latest. Jonathan?
Yeah, Maxine, blazing heat. I checked out the official temperature for today, making it to 99 after 99 yesterday. And then, of course, Sunday at 98. That's now 3 days in a row of record heat. Heat advisory is in place for the remainder of this afternoon and evening through 8 p.m. I think we'll probably reissue this again for tomorrow. Not a whole lot of change expected here. Right now, we are at 98 in Baltimore. Those temperatures holding on. A little bit cooler at the head of the bay there. 89 toward Elkton, 88 at Annapolis. But everybody else is generally well into the 90s, feeling like 102 in Baltimore. 102 at Cockeysville, 103 at Chestertown. If you were going to delay that run or that jog into this evening, I think you still maybe want to delay it another hour or two. And you have to make sure that you stay hydrated in this stuff. Really kind of comes up on you with it being September. You don't expect it. This is going to happen again tomorrow. Look at those real field temperatures, low to mid 100s by 1 and 5 p.m., getting up to about 95 to 100 again. If you're going to get a nice big ice cream to stay cool tomorrow, you better eat it quick because it's going to turn into a puddle. I'll let you know when that's not going to be happening, when temperatures return to near normal. That's my Weather Authority forecast in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Jonathan. Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Just download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone and use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms right down to your street. Just go to the App Store and search for WBFF to get started.
Kids today is taught that everything's supposed to be given to them, no matter if they break the law or not.
First on Fox Now, a mother is coming forward about her 14-year-old daughter, who she says continues to commit crimes despite being on home monitoring. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has the story.
This story really underscores what we continue to hear from parents, prosecutors, and the police. They say the current juvenile justice laws are not teaching kids consequences for their actions, and that crimes are escalating. Being a mom of a teenager can be tough. Wow, and they come all the time?
Every day.
But this Baltimore mom is facing an uphill battle with her daughter.
When she came home, she went out and stole a car that night and been getting arrested since, on home detention.
Ray doesn't want to share her last name or face. She does want to share her story, and it's eye-opening.
She stole the vehicle. They called me so abruptly in the middle of the day. I let them know that she does this. She get in trouble every day, crime. Y'all keep letting her off the hook. She's going to come home and do the same thing.
An ankle monitor doesn't stop Ray's 14-year-old daughter from stealing cars, and keeping her at home under control is a losing battle.
But she's been arrested ever since. On home detention, they still won't do nothing. They won't violate her. And they're teenagers. They know what they're doing. They know right from wrong. They need to start locking these kids up. They need to change the laws.
It's that plea for change that's coming from more than just parents. Police.
Under the new laws of the state of Maryland, it has become more difficult for police to question young people about anything.
And prosecutors saying the same thing.
There's nothing the law will allow us to do to hold them accountable. And they're doing whatever they want.
They know that, nothing's really going to happen to them if they keep their crime in a certain limit of types of crime.
They come in, we can't detain them, they're back in the community the next day.
But some lawmakers, like one of the architects of the juvenile justice law, Senator Joe Carter, says police and prosecutors don't understand the laws and are missing what their role is to play.
The belief that laws need to be changed because nothing can be done is part of a false narrative that's been spread. So that's something that I don't know if it's a lack of education on law enforcement or not, but it's something that they need to know that they can avail themselves of.
You have to put accountability measures in place.
Zach Smith, a criminal justice policy expert, says sometimes kids don't want to take the help being offered, and it's up to lawmakers to change the parameters, especially as frustration from the community builds.
You're increasingly seeing members of the community, including parents and relatives who care about these juveniles, as well as victims' families, speaking out saying that there needs to be accountability until lawmakers get serious about combating this juvenile crime crisis in their communities. You're going to continue to see the same results.
Well, lawmakers, prosecutors, and leaders all call for more parental accountability.
We tried everything, literally.
This Baltimore mom says she's trying everything.
I worry about my daughter not living till her birthday.
And she says it's the laws that need to change.
I think that's so unfair because it's parents like me who fought and it's asking for help and nobody is doing anything. Stop blaming the parents when things go wrong, when it's clearly a failed system.
The first step towards change could come next week when the House Judiciary Committee holds a hearing to hear from prosecutors as well as the Department of Juvenile Services. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 News sent questions to Governor Wes Moore's office last month asking about what changes need to be made to hold juveniles accountable. The governor's office sent a statement saying the governor will continue working with legislators and community leaders to bring solutions that provide real measures of accountability. That brings us now to our question of the day. What would you like the governor to do about juvenile crime before the next legislative session? Listen to prosecutors or make no changes to current laws. So far, 95% of people who voted say listen to prosecutors. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. Homeowners in Baltimore City claim a victory today. This as the Maryland Public Service Commission says it's up to residents, not BGE, to decide where gas pressure regulators are installed at their homes. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the story.
Today, a decision months in the making.
This morning, we scored a major victory.
The Maryland Public Service Commission, which regulates utility companies statewide.
We're here because something has gone terribly awry with your program.
Weighing in on BGE's gas pressure regulators, saying residents get to decide for themselves, inside or out.
Bottom line, the choice is yours of what you want. That is what we have been fighting for, and that is what we earned today.
BGE adamant for several months that gas pressure regulators need to be installed outside of homes for safety reasons. The utility work part of its project to transition to a high-pressure gas system in Baltimore City. But residents started pushing back, upset about torn-up streets and sidewalks, angry about holes being drilled into their homes, concerned about the safety of this gas equipment so close to the road, feeling like their voices were falling on deaf ears. In June, our cameras were rolling as 3 women were arrested for protesting the utility work in historic Federal Hill, alleging the company was strong-arming residents into the construction, faced with the option to get an outside regulator or have gas service shut off altogether. Their charges have since been dropped. The Public Service Commission today also ruling that declining an exterior regulator is not a valid reason to shut off or threaten to shut off service.
When you organize, when you come together, you can stand up to bullies.
But even with the definitive ruling from the Public Service Commission, the class action lawsuit against BGE not being dropped by several hundred Baltimoreans.
We're not done.
Homeowners say they're planning to amend the suit, now looking for a remedy for the homes forced to have external regulators against their will, and wanting to be sure BGE complies with today's order from the Public Service Commission.
We just want to make sure they actually do it. And until we see in writing that BG&E has adopted the spirit and substance of what the commission has ordered them to do, we're not in a position to just trust them that they will do the right thing.
Now, in a statement today, BGE said in part, quote, "The safety of our customers drives every decision we make, including our stance that placing gas regulators outdoors is safer because it reduces the risk of a catastrophic gas event." BGE continued saying, quote, "We are currently reviewing the Maryland Public Service Commission's order on the placement of gas regulators and will comply with it fully." The utility company thanked the PSC for providing oversight and said, quote, "We appreciate that customers still can select the safer outdoor option." It is important to note that today's ruling from the PSC applies to single-family homes. Maryland state law requires those gas pressure regulators to be installed outside of buildings with 6 or more units. In the studio, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
We're following breaking news right now. Baltimore police confirmed they've made an arrest after an officer-involved shooting earlier today. 33-year-old Alex Husson of Ellicott City, seen in surveillance video, is under arrest. Detectives say he hit 2 BPD officers with a vehicle trying to get away after a potential shoplifting incident at a 7-Eleven on Wilkins Avenue. 2 officers were taken to the hospital, one for a hand injury, the other for chest pain. Husson was not hurt in that incident. Now, Fox 45's Keith Daniels is following this story. He'll have a full report tonight on Fox 45 News coming up at 10 o'clock. Also, we're following breaking news out of Baltimore County. The Baltimore County Fire Department has entered into a consent decree with the Department of Justice. Now, that decree alleges the department violated the rights of its employees by subjecting 11 female employees to a hostile work environment. The complaint was filed in June of 2017. Under the terms, the department will create new policies and a complaint investigation process that has to be approved. The county will also pay $275,000 to those 11 employees.
A new report outlines corruption in Ukraine as lawmakers prepare to return to Washington, where increased aid for the country will no doubt come up. I'm Christine Frizzell with the details straight ahead.
And if you plan on mowing the lawn after the long Labor Day holiday weekend this evening, it looks like a good evening to take it slow and easy. Wait until just right around or just after sunset. It's still going to be hot, though. Temperature is going to be in the low to mid 90s. I'm going to let you know how long the stifling heat stays. My Weather Authority forecast.
Well, for years, levels of corruption in Ukraine were higher than anywhere else in Europe except Russia. A years-long effort to root it out has been largely successful, but there are new indications it still exists in pockets of the country. And it could provide ammunition to U.S. lawmakers who want to cut back or even cut off completely the aid the U.S. provides to the country. Christine Frizzell is live on Capitol Hill with lawmakers set to return. This is expected to be a big topic up for debate.
That's right, Maxine. And while most in Congress still agree that the U.S. government should provide weapons and funding to Ukraine to help it defend itself, I think it's safe to say that sentiment has shifted among a growing number of lawmakers. And it's not just those here on Capitol Hill. A new CNN poll that came out a few weeks ago found that 55% of Americans, so more than half, believe that the U.S. government should not reauthorize funding for Ukraine, compared to 45% who said it should.
More than 18 months into a war they never asked for, Ukraine now forced to react to factors emerging off the battlefield. Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov recently fired by Ukrainian President Zelensky in the wake of multiple scandals involving his Ministry of Defense, with accusations of price gouging and bribery, though Reznikov himself was not implicated. Now, a report in the New York Times outlining the enduring challenge of corruption in Ukraine, and that government officials acknowledge that some military contracts failed to produce weaponry or ammunition, and that some of the money has vanished. Details expected to add fuel to a slow-burning fire of criticism from some in Congress about aid amount and accountability.
We've seen $113 billion, and yet the Defense Department came back in the last couple of months and said there's $6 billion that we feel like we've made an accounting error over.
Stop sending our bullets to the Ukrainians. We need them right here at home.
President Joe Biden already requesting an additional $40 billion to support Ukraine, as leaders admit slow progress, but progress nonetheless.
We are moving forward. We liberated dozens of square kilometers of our land through minefields with no air coverage.
Rooting out corruption was central to Volodymyr Zelensky's candidacy. Russia, meanwhile, now set to meet with North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un for the first time in 4 years. The topic believed to be a potential arms deal.
We also know that the Russians and Chinese have invited North Korea to join a trilateral naval exercise coming up.
That deepening relationship comes alongside a new alarming warning. A retired Russian general, Alexander Vladimirov, said in an interview he believes the, quote, inevitable conclusion of the war will involve nuclear weapons. Maxine?
And Christine, how likely is it that President Biden will be able to get the additional aid that he's requested to help Ukraine?
Yeah, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was asked about this at the White House briefing today and says meetings they've had on the matter have been substantive. The White House really continuing to make the case this is not just about Ukraine. It's about the future of democracy and to prevent future invasions from other countries. Those opposed to the aid, they're saying, you know, we should take care of this country first.
All right, Christine Frizzell live in D.C. for us tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, here we go on the Fox Triple Cast. The blazing heat on both of our sky cams and the HD radar showing the approach of our next weather maker. That's going to put an end to our heat, but we got to get there first. There's a heat advisory that remains in effect the rest of this afternoon into the evening through 8 p.m. Entire area except the eastern shore still could feel as hot as about 100 to 105. 98 here in Baltimore. Right now, we hit 99 officially for a record high temperature today. 94 at Cockeysville. A little bit cooler at Elkton, but outside of that in Annapolis, everybody else is in, and in many cases, well in to the 90s. Feels like 102 in Baltimore, 102 at Cockeysville. So even that evening jog or run has to be extra slow and cautious. You need to drink lots of water. Still a lot of triple-digit real field temperatures out there for this evening. This is a good place to be. You see right by the water, temperature at 98 degrees as we take a beautiful look at some of our webcams. Winds out of the northwest at 5, feels like 102, but that is just inland. Once you get along the water's edge, it's more like about 85 to 90. HD radar showing the rain, the thunderstorms out to the west. This is the eventual widespread cooling that's going to come our way, but till then, we are deep in the record heat. This is day 3 of record heat. I think we make it day 4 for tomorrow. Then we start dealing with some of these thunderstorms potentially into Thursday and maybe even Friday. There is a marginal risk, at least for Thursday, of some severe weather late in the day and into the evening. That's a 1 of 5 risk. That means we could see the potential of some gusty, damaging winds, and then improvements on the way for the weekend. Now, out in the tropics, there's Tropical Storm Lee, newly formed today. That could become a Category 4 hurricane with winds over 140 miles an hour by the weekend. And notice what this one does. Some of those computer model trends looking a little, well, too close for comfort, we'll say, just off the East Coast off into this weekend. So that's something we'll be watching closely. Still too early to know what's going to happen there. Future scan overnight into early tomorrow morning. Look at those 70s once again. We're back well into the 90s again for tomorrow afternoon. Could be threatening records as we make it to near 100. Real field temperatures into the low and mid 100s tomorrow afternoon. Should only be 83 for this time of year. I'm going to let you know in the exclusive 10-day forecast coming up when we'll finally be closer to that 83. That's in a couple of minutes.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Snow on Labor Day? It was falling at 9,500 feet in the Utah Mountains, about 70 miles from Salt Lake City. Dry summers in western Washington state make it harder for pink salmon, also known as humpies, to swim upstream to spawn. And sunflower season is in full bloom at North Carolina's Biltmore Estate. 145,000 seeds were planted along a 1-mile display.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
On tonight's Assignment America, a big change is coming to drugstores. Narcan will start being sold over the counter. Al Peffley with our Sinclair sister station in West Palm Beach, Florida, has the story.
Everyone should have one. Everyone should carry it with them.
Janine Pavisi, a court reporter who lives in Delray Beach, lost her son Christopher to a heroin overdose in November 2020. There's a bench near her condo that's dedicated in memory of Christopher with the words "missed with every breath."
He tried so hard to fight this disease, and he just couldn't. It was just too hard for him.
She says her son died alone in a hotel room in Phoenix from a drug overdose. If only someone had been there with Narcan, she says it might have made a difference.
If somebody was with him and they saw him overdose and they gave it to him right away, he would still be sitting here with me.
Starting this month, Narcan will be sold over the counter. It will cost about $45 for a package that contains 2 doses. If administered soon after someone collapses after a drug overdose, it could save their life.
This is an incredible game changer.
Luis Garcia, a retired Boynton Beach firefighter paramedic, says he responded to more than 3,000 drug overdoses in his career.
I do think it's going to make a significant difference. Absolutely. I would say it's definitely going to save lives.
Garcia says until now you needed a prescription for Narcan and you'd need to spend $150 to $175. Now it'll be sold over the counter in stores such as Walgreens, CVS, and Walmart, and it will cost less, about $45. He showed us how to administer it to someone who's overdosed.
And all you have to do is put them on their back, and you spray. It's a high-dosage nasal spray. You stick it in, either nostril. You don't have to do anything else. You'll hear a click. It goes in.
He says you have to give Narcan to them within 8 minutes or less after they collapse. If you reach them in that time, the survival rate, he says, is about 91%. He says even if you don't know someone who uses drugs, you might be able to save someone's life sometime if you have Narcan.
If you go to a gas station, coffee shop, a big box store, a pharmacy, a